Knicks in Boston, Julius Randle, 26 points in the game, and the Knicks were up 6 with about 8 minutes to go. Randle doing a nice job here against Jason Tatum. But Boston, over the final 8 minutes, outscored the Knicks 25-11. Tatum had 30 points, and the Celtics beat the Knicks. Final count, 113-104. Home crowd filing out. The Knicks now have lost 6 straight. They are 4-16 on the season. Great to have you with us from our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pito, Alan Hahn, Wally Zerbeck. All right, Alan, we're 20 games into the season. Knicks 16 losses to this point. 9 of the 16 losses have been by 9 points or fewer.
And a lot of those losses that we saw that by single digits are self-inflicted wounds. Many of them, we talked about in the pregame, the free throw shooting. And the Knicks left 11 more points on the free throw line in this game. You start there, and you start, obviously, with taking care of the basketball when it matters most. They only had 14 turnovers in this game, but they had 5 of them in that fourth quarter and 4 during that fateful stretch where the game completely changed. So it's really about small pockets of the game, but it still comes down to shot making and a go-to player that you can trust when you need a basket, when you've got to stop the bleeding, and they just don't have that player on their roster yet.
And playing smart basketball, that's what it is. I don't think you can question their effort. I think today they were ready to go in this early game, came out and really punched the Celtics in the mouth early on in this game, played with a lot of aggressiveness, but then when the heat started to get turned up in the fourth quarter, that's when the experienced players of the Celtics who have been there, who have made big shots, made big plays, Kemba Walker's been in countless close games, always had the ball in his hands, he knows how to execute, he knows what guys to get the ball to. Tatum's been one of the best fourth quarter players in the NBA as far as the clutch statistics go, and they live for those moments. Either you have that gene, I talk about the clutch gene all the time, where you live for the fourth quarter, you live for the big plays, you live for those big shots, or you don't. And, you know, Coach Fizdale's got to be shaking his head on the sidelines, because when you're turning the ball over in the fourth quarter, that's when you need to play even smarter. You need to be more locked in. You need to be more aggressive and decisive with what you want to do out there on the floor. Any type of indecision is going to show in the fourth quarter, and right now the Knicks have a lot of indecision trying to close games.
How can you be decisive when you don't know who is the guy, who is the go-to player?
That's true.
Like that's the hard part.
You have no alpha.
Who is it? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Randle was great.
Get the ball here.
Randle had 26 points, but it's hard at that position to be that guy.
They started doubling him, and then it turned it over, and that's what happened. They were trying to go to Randle, and they doubled him, and it was a quick turnover.
It has to come from a guard. It has to come from a shooter or a guard. Has to be a closer.
And it's another game, and this is exactly to your point. It's another game. We saw Philadelphia do this as well, where the other team turned up the defense, and the Knicks melted, and they never were able to recover from it. Because we saw that's what Ben Simmons did. It's what Tatum and the Celtics did in the fourth quarter as well. Come out of that timeout, score is tied, and they were a different team out of that timeout. They started trapping the minute the pass was made. They were trying to create turnovers. It worked to perfection, just like what the Sixers did. So until the Knicks find somebody that they can go to, that you can get that ISO stuff that does work in fourth quarters in the NBA, we're going to see more of this.
It's got to come from your point guard, though. It's like the quarterback running the 2-minute drill at the end of a game at halftime or at the end of a fourth quarter in a football game. He's got to just figure things out. He's got to get guys in all the right places, and he's got to make the plays. It's got to come from the point guard on this team.
And Marcus Morris did not play. He's got a neck problem.
That was big. He's a closer.
And Frank Ntilikina played only 7 minutes and then did not play the rest of the game with what the Knicks are calling a sore upper back. So you had Dennis Smith Jr. running the point in crunch time, and while he had a season high in terms of 17 points, not really his role so far this year, that's for sure.
So here's where it is 95, 6 minutes to go here. Now Barrett on the drive misses. That's a corner 3. And here's turnover. That's just Dotson just lost the ball, and that's good defense there. I think this is where it's tied, and we get the timeout.
Can we take away Jaylen Brown's right hand?
Like that, just that stuff like that can't happen. And then again, on the other end of the floor, it's just...
Well, the Knicks had
four
straight turnovers at 95 all.
See, that's just too easy.
Yeah, and then the defense.
Too easy.
Where's the defense? He's a knockdown three-point shooter, just walks into an open 3, starting to open it up. 9-point game at that point. There were a couple times where Dennis Smith Jr. got switched on to Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown just walks to the basket with his right hand 2 times in a row in the fourth quarter. You have to know to take away his right hand. He's a right-hand dominant driver. Force him to drive left. At least force him to take a contested 2. Somewhere in the mid-range type area. Don't let him just overpower you as a guard. Get to the spot, beat him to the spot, use your quickness. These are the little things that these guys have to start to learn, and they have to learn quickly. It's some of these guys are starting to get into their second and third years in the league. The learning curve has to start to click. It has to start to kick in where guys start to realize in the fourth quarter, I have to take away what the other team wants to do. Can't give away these easy baskets, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
There's two things you're fighting late in games in the NBA. One of them is the other team. The other is fatigue. Yourself, right? There's two battles that you're dealing with. Fatigue does kick in where you compete so hard all game to be in a game like this. To see
it's not fatigue.
The lack of fight.
Dennis Smith Jr.
What else is it then?
Guys,
what else is it then?
Dennis Smith Jr.
It can't be non-compete because you're not non-compete this late in the game.
Well, it's not non-compete. It's non-compete smartly. It's competing not smart. It's not playing with a high basketball IQ in the fourth quarter. You have to outsmart the other team in the fourth quarter. You have to outwit them. You have to beat them in a chess game. Because in the fourth quarter, everyone knows what you're running. Everyone has seen the way who's hot, who's not in that game. So you know the tendencies of the other team. In the fourth quarter, it's a battle of wills. It's a battle of smarts. Who wants it more and who's going to execute?
We're both saying mental. You're saying mental on smarts.
You're
I'm saying mental on toughness.
Fatigue.
Mental
Listen,
toughness.
guys, Dennis Smith Jr., because of the injury to Frank Ntilikina, had to play 38 minutes. And he had to be tired.
And he hasn't done that all season, right? He had played pretty well up until the fourth quarter, and then, like I said, mistakes began.
You were 22 years old once. You were 21 years old once. Come on now.
38 minutes.
Adrenaline in front of 20,000 people, you're going to use the fatigue? Sorry.